Hi, and welcome to another episode of Ascendia Exchange, the series where we sit down with experts and thought leaders to explore the ideas, strategies, and creative thinking that are shaping the way business, media, and technology intersect today. Today's guest is someone who sits at a unique crossroads of visual culture, strategy, and emerging technology. With over 2 decades of experience, Bashar Alaeddin is a photographer turned digital strategist whose work spans royal courts, global summits, government advisory, and cultural institutions. He's helped organizations navigate the fast moving world of media, from algorithm changes to AI's role in visual culture, to building content ecosystems that are not only creative, but operationally smart. Whether behind the lens or behind the strategy deck, Bashar's work challenges the boundary between art and impact, and today we'll unpack what that really looks like in an age of acceleration. Bashar, welcome to Ascendia Exchange. Glad to have you with us today.
It's a pleasure to be here, Aman. Thank you.
No problem. Stay with us, guys. We'll be right back. Okay, Bashar, thanks for coming on Ascendia Exchange again. I'd like to
Thank
welcome you and all our viewers. So let's start off with this. You've tackled storytelling,
you.
AI, high protocol media, and photography across global stages.
Mhm.
Do you remember a moment where you can share with us where these worlds collided and change your approach on content generation?
Um, changed my approach on content generation and how they all collided. Yes, it's not a moment. It's a constant moment, actually.
Good.
Um, the thing is about storytelling. With I think the issue with there's a misconception usually with storytelling. I think because everybody, I mean, like we're all on social media and we all talk about you have to tell your story and all this stuff. I think with government media and protocol, it's not the primary aspect, to be honest. When you're working with either royalty or heads of state or ministers, it's usually more it's the capturing of the news item. It's the handshake, it's the smile, it's the minister at some building, like checking in on like roadworks or something, or
Mhm.
it's the crown prince who's visiting like the sick in a hospital, for example. So there's not really much, I would say personally, the storytelling aspect to it. However, storytelling to me is when you build an image over time.
Mhm.
So it's when you're working advising on any corporate account or any client or any like high profile figure, it's what you kind of strategize at the beginning of the year when you start, and then how you kind of say over the next 6 to 8 months or over the next like 6 months or year, how we're going to change the story about you. Okay.
Okay.
So for a simple example, I'm sure Anna, like I left oil course over 5 years ago, so like I can't really probably mention, but when you're talking about a high profile figure of sorts, you kind of start, do you want the story about him or his perception to be more as a military person or more as a business person or more like economic person? And you kind of build that through your programs and through your basically kind of your social and digital strategy over time on a week by week basis, like you do kind of like little small things, and over time
Okay.
you kind of create and build that story. So that's where I kind of like approach the whole storytelling part, that it's something that you build over time, and then eventually, for example, at the end of a year or something, when you're working in media, you can work with a news outlet, and then you can create like a mini documentary about how it started and how this person became this way, or how this like company or client like shifted their brand like towards more of this or less of that. That's kind of like where they create the story. Now when it comes to protocol, obviously there's a lot of approval processes. You have to
Yes.
think about any potential like negative aspect, and this is where like a lot of the pre like studying comes in, is that like if we do this and not this, if you do this, does this demographic think it's good, does that demographic think this is bad, for example? So there's a lot of that audience segmentation, or not segmentation, but audience kind of insights into whether we should be doing this or should be doing that, or if this is good, because obviously, and there's a lot of offices that are involved, and there's approvals, and there's opinions, etc. And I think one of the most like difficult things, which is why I personally like working for government and stuff, is that you kind of have to cater in a you have to cater to the entire audience. So it's
Yeah.
not like if you're working in sport or in commercial retail, for example, you're targeting like Gen Z to do shopping, or you're targeting just the sports people. The
Mm.
government, you have to kind of talk in a way and have a tone of voice and have a program where it's neutral, but still effective enough that you're targeting from young to old, from all different شو
Yeah.
اسمه, walks of life. So that's in terms of protocol, you have to be kind of like
Yeah.
very extremely diligent, right, and particular.
Yeah. Which brings me to my next question. Since you've worked with governments uh,
Mm,
across your career on social strategy and royal protocol and all these aspects, when
mm.
you're dealing with the government protocols, what's the one media trap that they fall into? Because they're politicians, they're not media
For,
savvy people, especially like based on your high stakes experiences and interactions with these people. How do you tackle this? How do you rescue them from their mind traps or from the
well,
issues they face?
it's actually easy, to be honest. هلا يعني, if I would say maybe like pre-corona or pre-COVID times, like there was always a stereotype about like high-profile figures and politicians. They're very like not media savvy. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I think now social media, especially in the GCC, has been very engulfed and embedded across like, like Saudi ministers are on X. Lots of the CEOs of like semi-government agencies or corporate accounts in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, they're all on Instagram, like, and on X. And all right, and like anytime we come to do something, like a video recap of an event, like they're always checking it. So I think they're a lot more savvy, or they're like a lot more social media savvy. However, it's not particularly a trap, as it is you have to be extremely convincing, and you have to kind of, back up your strategy or your campaign plan with a lot of data.
Mhm.
So, for example, if you're working, for example, with like an oil and gas company, all right, that's like governmental in Abu Dhabi, and you want to do like a recap event for something that happened in Eid or Eid al-Ittihad, for example, like if it's something small, let's give you a small example. Kind of need to make sure that almost everybody else is kind of also doing videos and doing videos in this way, and so like you kind of have to go in and showcase like, okay, these other like semi-government and kind of like oil and gas companies, they've done videos, they've been successful, and we've checked the numbers. However, we can do the same, or let's do something a little bit different. And if we do this something different, the risk of it failing is extremely low. So you kind of have to go in and explain the whole thing extremely diligently and have it backed up, so you can kind of move forward like with a certain campaign. So it's not particularly a media trap, as it is making sure that like whatever decision we make in a public sense is backed up by extreme data, extreme, the case studies, so it's much more easier to be approved and to go
Yeah.
forward.
Do they usually interfere with your work since it's about them?
Well, yeah, I mean, if there's one thing,
Can
yeah.
you can you give us an example without neither of us getting in trouble?
No, it's not about example. I mean, obviously, because and if you're working with a CEO or a high profile figure, like there's always this sense where there has to be that first time, this like interview and interrogation sense about what
Mm.
they like and how they see themselves online and how they benchmark like themselves. So like a lot of things we do, if we're doing something for like a specific CEO on LinkedIn, if you want to do like a full strategy, all right, we have to
Yeah.
figure out, okay, and who other CEOs are in the same field on a local level, on a regional level, and on an international level.
Yeah.
And we kind of see, a additional frequency of posting, additional content
Yeah.
that they are posting. Are they active on their like on their LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever? Are they not active? And we kind of rate them according to our own analysis, and we go up and we pitch and we say like, okay, you sir, like stand here. We've benchmarked you against like A, B, and C person, flan. This person posts a lot about employee engagement, about their promotions, about their company announcement. This person posts about the
Mhm.
company itself. And so we kind of create a thing like a strategy that is based on that, and we say, okay, for you, you're going to be posting like twice a month and talking about this and this and this, and every 3 months or every 2 3 months, obviously, like we see how it works, it's not working, and then we adapt and we work.
Okay.
But there's one thing, yani, in terms of like it's a rule I've learned: always anticipate like the last minute changes. This
Always.
exists
Yeah, yeah.
in our country. Yani, I feel if you don't have a
It's
thick
part of the
skin,
package. It's part of the
it's part of the
package.
package. If you
Yes.
can't have like last minute changes, then it's just like don't be in this industry, I think. And especially it's not just, like getting last minute changes, but like preempting them. So
Mhm.
let's say, if you submit, for example, a case or a strategy, and you say, okay, maybe they'll comment on 1 2 and 3. Okay.
Yeah.
And then kind of think, okay, if they comment on 1 or 2 or 3, I have that backed up already. You know what I mean? So when they ask about it, kind of like a day before, the launch or something, you're like, okay, no, it's ready. So it's not just doing the last minute changes, it's preempting them and having them, or kind of like to anticipate them and make sure that they're ready, and it doesn't take like 2 days of edits and going back and forth.
Yeah.
So you have to have a thick skin and like when يكون قلبك شوي حامي يعني to have to
Yes.
deal with it, because this exists,
Yes,
like
yes. It's
it's a
part of
human
it.
nature.
It's yeah, it's human nature and it's part of every job.
Mm.
All right. I want to move on to AI since now this is the buzzword
Yeah,
across multiple
the
industries.
hype, the word.
And it's been used a lot in your career. Everyone
Yes.
using Canva, Midjourney, ChatGPT, to name a few.
Kling
You
and so
personally, as Bashar, yeah, as Bashar, you personally, where do you draw the line between AI being a creative tool
Mhm.
and being it a creative cheat, for example?
A creative tool or creative cheat. Anna, to me, I have my reservations about, يعني, I'm very much AI. Like it's
Okay.
here, I'll use it. I use it on a daily basis everywhere. To me, where it becomes mischeat, it's a deceiving,
Mhm.
is when a person does something with it, and doesn't claim that he used it, that
Okay.
he or she used it. All right. So if you're doing a photo, a video, obviously now, I mean, like we can all see the difference between, like photos, and videos,
Yes.
and this is, this is not. It's getting, more and more difficult, like to notice. And there will be like some bad actors who are using it for misinformation, disinformation, etc. But in the creative field, it's okay to use AI, fine, all right, but just like let me know that you used it. And
Yeah.
I think we get to a point, يعني أنا as a photographer, since يعني I've been following it since the like late 90s in photojournalism. Back then, before social media, when there was a photo that came out of a president or something in a war area or something, we all believed it to be true, and we took it and we understood like the context. Now we're drowning in a sea of content, يعني انه شو اسمه online,
Yeah.
I mean like we can't keep up. You open up your TikTok, your Instagram, your whatever, there's always AI images and stuff, and you don't know kind of like what to pay attention to anymore.
Exactly.
And so there has
Speaking of paying attention, the attention span now is like what, 7 seconds, 5 seconds?
1.5, man, even less, 1.5
Even
to 2.
less. Wow.
يعني if you just
I'm
think of
so
a user.
outdated.
No, if you just think kind of like as a user, or even like yourself, if you're scrolling Instagram, for example,
Yeah.
which is like the most popular app, if you're scrolling Instagram, if you see an image or a video and it doesn't grab you in a second and a half, it's easy just to scroll away.
Yeah.
So it doesn't,
That's
I
true.
mean, maybe for us as millennials, like I don't want to say my age or anything, but I mean, like we'll give something like 3 4 seconds extra.
Yeah.
But there's a younger generation that just flicks away, and even on TikTok, you just flicks away.
Yeah.
So that attention span is less. So Anna, my point is that when using AI now, I think like everything you post as a photographer or a videographer or content creator or filmmaker, documentarian, whatever, there has to be some sort of context to it, to explain. Okay, this piece I created. I use some, they should say I use some AI here or there, but that shouldn't be the main point. It should be the story behind it, the meaning, the
Yeah.
intention behind it, the like the artistic expression behind it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I see something that's great, and I, from a like from a creative person, and they like that they use the AI to it. I'm like, okay, fine, use it, okay, but what are you trying to say with this piece, for example?
Yeah.
And even if they use it in commercial senses, if big corporations use it, yeah, go ahead. Because I know, to me, it's kind of funny, when we started using Photoshop, kind of like 10 years ago, and they were saying, oh, like this is photoshopped, oh, it's fake, it's photoshopped. Now, oh, it's like AI, it's AI. Well,
Yeah. It's
it's
accepted. Yeah. People are accepting it because it's AI rather than they didn't accept it back in the day when it's photoshopped. It's the same thing.
Yeah, because it was still the transition between a photo being real, and people had that trust in that photo and the credibility of the photographer who had took it, and now, because AI has been like so democratized, it's so easy for anybody that kind of like to do any images. And sure, if people are playing around and they're posting AI images, there's a whole bunch of accounts, fine. But this isn't something that my point is, like, if you wanted to be like a true creative and express yourself kind of like artistically, and you want to use AI, just like go ahead, but just claim that you've that
Yes.
kind of just
Which
claim that
brings
you used it and everything's fine.
which brings me to my point. Since now people can generate images on command using AI, as from your point of view, from Bashar's point of view, when do you say, La, no, this is only a human eye or a human lens can do it? Like how does it shape your process when you come to a conclusion that no, AI will never be able to do this, only a human lens can do this, especially that you're
I
a photographer.
think, yeah, okay. So I think only recently, in the genre or in the field of photography, it's the photojournalism. There's the Pulitzer Prize. It's not the Pulitzer Prize. It's the World Press Photo, I think. There was one recently that just happened, and the winning photo was a child from Gaza who
Yeah,
had lost his limbs, and I posted this kind of like about this on my LinkedIn. In that context, that there was a photographer, he took this photo, he submitted it, there was a whole check about it, like they checked like the raw files, everything, that's a photo, great. Only a human like can do that. Like, no matter how much that you prompt how much you prompt and like a tool for AI to
yeah,
create a somber looking child lost his limbs, that's not going to happen.
that's not
Even if
happening.
it
Yeah,
does, خلاص احنا as humans we have to connect with like other humans. Like, we won't
yeah,
connect like with an AI, like, kind of with like an AI who does that. So I think the photojournalism genre of photography, it should be safe. I'm sure there's, again, as I said, there's going to be like bad actors who try to cheat it, but hopefully, in the hope of like human nature, people will find out if something
mm,
is not true or not. But however, if you're doing like real estate or food or like commercial
yeah.
stuff,
Sky's the limit.
it,
Sky's the limit.
the sky's the limit. Because the thing is, at the same time, and what AI has done has made it kind of easier, but it doesn't mean that they create the entire image. So let's say if I'm a photographer who's working for like a restaurant or like a hotel, and they want to take pictures of their suites and their rooms and their pools and stuff like that. So I'm going to go like with my camera and like take photos. But depends, if the weather was bad, it was cloudy, like I need more lighting. The amount of stuff that I do in real time, in real life, with lighting and a flash, and like changing the interior and stuff like that, okay, fine, then I can take the shot, even if it needs a little bit kind of like airbrushing with Photoshop. That whole process, it could be done with AI. uh Now it's a different topic whether this is going to take my job or not, but I
Yeah,
think with clients, they will have people who work as AI in them in-house with companies and stuff like that. But I think eventually still there has to be a human that supervises the final output. So
yeah,
whether you're doing like a strategy deck, a photograph, a video, you're doing a storytelling, like piece about, like somebody, the end, there has to be a human that supervises the whole thing to make sure that it looks good. The key messages and the story and the meaning is there,
mm,
and then it goes to output. So there has to be a human. Like, no matter how much the process of AI is behind it, from pre and during, at the end there has to be a human that's there.
Human element. Yeah, that's true. Um,
I mean, because it's kind of funny, like there's lots of people, and sometimes, like, I mean, like I encounter them, and they, like go into ChatGPT, and they just do like a copy paste, and I can see the things. You know how ChatGPT, like, it gives you, yes, great, okay, sure, great answer, and then they
yeah,
give you
yeah,
that, and they just copy pasted it. I'm like,
yeah. Yes,
just do a little check, just
yeah,
it's
just a
okay,
little check.
easy. Just, ظبطها شوي يعني. So I don't know what's doing that to our, like, human psychology شوي, with a lot of people just copy pasting it, without checking. But yeah,
Uh,
just check your work.
AI is making people, in my opinion, it's making people lazier, and it's preventing them from thinking creatively on their own.
Well, yes, but I think no. Well, I mean, I think maybe يعني, and how do I say this? I think, me and Jew, I think, because we lived a life that was before AI, that we know how to think, like, critically and creatively, and then we approach AI as a tool to help us with our timing. You know what I mean? With the
Yeah.
process or whatever, with our process, or شو اسمه, in a pipeline.
Mm.
However, a lot of kids, maybe, I'm not a kid myself, but I know, that growing up, whoever is now 12 years old, 14 years old, or anything, like, they won't learn, how to code, or they won't learn about, actually, like, I'll give you like a small example, because I teach on a photography sometimes to either kids at, like, the beginner levels.
Mhm.
So it was a few months ago. I had maybe 4 or 5 students, and I was teaching them, like, so I got a camera, and, like, telling them about the aperture and shutter speed and all this stuff. So we had given them just some cameras to try out. They took some photos in the field. We went back into the computer lab, and I told them to take out the memory card, and to download them into the computers and open a folder on the desktop, okay? And so that I can go, so then that I can walk around and see the photos. And one of the kids, who was 18 years old, he didn't know how to right click and open up a new folder.
Wow.
And I was like, excuse me, and no, yeah, the card, and, like, he didn't know that he needed, like, a memory card thing to put the memory card into it, and then USB into the computer. It was like a Macintosh, and I was just like, just open up a folder here, and I'm doing it. I'm like, how do you do this? And I realized he had spent his entire life just, like, on the phone,
Yeah.
so just go on the phone from app to app and to app, and he never had the chance. I don't know which school he went to or anything, but he never had the chance to hold the mouse and to actually to do a right click, open folder on the desktop the way that we are used to. So
Yeah.
I can only imagine how their approach or how their mentality is going to be, like, moving forward, or, like, how the future is going to be. It could be great, it could be bad. That's not the point. But the point is how we approach the technology for our generation is
Yeah.
not
It's
the same.
different.
The next
Yeah.
generation is approaching
Speaking of
technology.
generations, and you interacted with a younger generation and kids. If somebody wants to go into the same career as you now,
Mm.
what advice would you give them? Now
Uh,
let's say you meet an 18-year-old, and he's like, Mr. Bashar, I would like to do what you're doing right now. What piece of advice would you give him?
The advice I'd give to a young person, to an 18-year-old who wants to get into my field, which is quite complicated, from photography, strategy, operations, and government. Um, I think always. Well, it's more philosophical, والله يا أيمن. Advice, because I'm trying to think what advice I would have given to myself if I was younger. Um, and I think it would be not just to be curious and to be open-minded and to be more aware about, clients and operations and creativity and who does this and who does that. But I think it's more being involved and being just more sincere in your pursuit of knowledge. You know what I mean? Advice to give to young kids. I think as much as I think as much as technology now is super fast and it's at a fast-paced rate where every week there's something new and something change. I think they should kind of go back and learn about the past like 10 or 20 years of history or of technology, and kind of go back to the roots of things. I'm not sure how the employment market is going to be in like 10 years time. Obviously, I mean, like in our generation, like that we were born to be doctors, engineers, or lawyers, and now if there's a kid who wants to be like a video game influencer, like he could. So but I think you need to not just be so delved into the field that you enjoy and that you're passionate about, but obviously kind of explore the branches that are out of here. So when I started as a photographer, I was just in photography, then video editing, then into visual communication, then into strategic communications. So they're all kind of related, but they're all branched out. So my advice would be, as much as you're passionate about a certain field and you want to be in it, try as much over time to learn about the branches that come out of it, and that way you can kind of have a more comprehensive kind of approach and outlook on your field, and hopefully you can be much more aware about kind of about like all the aspects.
Excellent. Well, that's all the time we have today, Bashar. Thank you so much. I'm
Thank
happy
you
to
for
we've connected
allowing me
again.
to
Yeah.
ramble on.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Thank you so much, guys. I will be posting Bashar's LinkedIn in the description box in the video. And thank you for joining. Thank you for listening, Bashar.
Thank you so much.
Great to have you and great to see you again, buddy.
Thanks, Eman. Yalla, I'll see you soon.
All right. Inshallah.